We've got a pretty supportive gay and lesbian community in this city. I did want to ask you about something you wrote a couple of years ago. You said, if I had a gay son, I would think I'd...
Oh, look, another. I'm saying to you, the swamp, you guys, the swamp.
You become a champion, you become a star, and some would say...
Let me ask you something. Are you gay?
Have you had the chance to interact with a more diverse...
Are you gay?
Can I get an answer?
Well, no, I'm asking, this is the part of, are you a gay man?
I'm an ally of the community.
Okay. If you had a son and he was like, you had a son, he was gay, you'd be like, oh man, you don't want a grandkid?
No problem with it.
Oh man, well, dude, you're a weak man, dude. You're part of the problem. You elected Justin Trudeau. Like, when he sees the bank accounts, like, you're just pathetic. And the fact that you have no backbone, and has he shut down your country and seized bank accounts? You ask me some stupid like that, go yourself. Move the on, man.
All right, folks, I know I'm about a day late on this, but I still want to react to it because this is just amazing. Frankly, it borders on poetry. It's also kind of vulgar, so I had to cut out a lot of cuss words for PG-13 purposes, but still, this is just great. So if you don't know who Sean Strickland is, and I'm sure most people do, but if you don't, he's basically this right-wing UFC fighter who is totally unhinged. And I don't say that in a bad way, okay? I say that in the most positive, endearing way, that the guy just straight up does not care. He does not care about losing sponsors. He certainly doesn't care about cancel culture. And I think there's something very powerful about that in the sports world today, because I'd argue sports is becoming the new front of the culture war. It's sort of like a masculine thing. Primarily guys watch it, and I think there's a reason they're trying to subvert it and put so much woke stuff in it. And we have a lot of pro athletes, way too many, who are willing to go along with that, right? People who are willing to be shills and cucks and whatever it takes to keep my career together and keep the sponsors. One example that comes to mind, of course, is Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift's boyfriend, Mr. Pfizer, the guy who says, oh yeah, $20 million from the pharmaceutical industry. I will happily promote the jab and I will happily date Taylor Swift and be a libtard because that's where the money is. Too much of that, too much weakness, too much cowardice. Sean Strickland is not one of those guys. And recently, this Canadian liberal reporter asked him a very stupid question about LGBT or something. And folks, let me just play it. You can see for yourself. This is great. Okay, just take a listen here.
We've got a pretty supportive gay and lesbian community in this city. I did want to ask you about something you wrote a couple of years ago. You said, if I had a gay son, I would think I'd...
Oh, look, another. I'm saying to you, the swamp, you guys, the swamp.
You become a champion, you become a star, and some would say...
Let me ask you something. Are you gay?
Have you had the chance to interact with a more diverse...
Are you gay?
Can I get an answer?
Well, no, I'm asking, this is the part of, are you a gay man?
I'm an ally of the community.
Okay. If you had a son and he was like, you had a son, he was gay, you'd be like, oh man, you don't want a grandkid?
No problem with it.
Oh man, well, dude, you're a weak man, dude. You're part of the problem. You elected Justin Trudeau. Like, when he sees the bank accounts, like, you're just pathetic. And the fact that you have no backbone, and has he shut down your country and seized bank accounts? You ask me some stupid like that, go yourself. Move the on, man.
I answered the question, but I did want to ask also things you said about the trans community. You said this past October when they announced the Bud Light sponsorship that you'd go so hard on Bud Light in your next fight, they'll have to accept me or denounce me when they know what, and will know what they stand for.
This guy's like, nah, this Canadian's not that Canadian.
Are you still going to use your fight time to kind of speak on that?
Here's the thing about Bud Light. 10 years ago, to be trans was a mental, and now all of a sudden people like you have weaseled your way into the world. You are an infection. You are the definition of weakness. Everything that is wrong with the world is because of you. And the best thing is the world's not buying it. The world's not buying your bull you're peddling. The world is not saying, you know what, you're right. Chicks have dicks. The world's not saying that. The world's saying, no, there are two genders. I don't want my kids being taught about, who they could in school. I don't want my kids being taught about, their sexual preference. Like, dude, this guy's the enemy. You want to look at the enemy to our world? It's that mother right there. So I don't give a who you. I don't give a what you want to do in life. But don't tell kids about it. Don't teach that in school. Don't push your agenda. Don't try to brainwash people. Don't try to go past parents.
So yeah, basically sums up the rant there. Oh my gosh. Is it brutal? Yeah, it's brutal. But in many ways, I'm not going to say the guy deserves it, but you know, you ask a very stupid question. And by the way, what do you expect? Some type of polished politician answer about how, you know, I respect the rights of all Americans, but this is an issue that, no, he's a UFC fighter. Okay, what response do you expect to get? In fact, I'd argue that's the perfect response a UFC fighter should give. Okay, if I were asked that question as like a political commentator, would I speak exactly like that? Maybe not, but like that's our industry. The sports world, you know, just masculine guys. He literally fights people for a living. You expect him to kowtow or bow down or give some type of polished answer? No, that was the perfect answer that any UFC fighter should give. And I think the sentiment is very true. You're a sports reporter. You know, you're covering a fight, okay? And instead of asking about the fight, you're like, what are your thoughts? Are you going to comment on the LGBT community? Give me a freaking break. It was masterful, okay? This guy, you know, let me say it. I like this guy. I really do. I really do. And I've seen a lot of his stuff over the past couple months. And I guess in many ways, you know, I'm not a big UFC fan. Maybe I ought to get into it. It looks interesting. I've never really grew up paying attention to it or whatever. But this is something I definitely respect about that whole sports league is you got Dana White, who I was very disappointed bringing Bud Light on board. And, you know, I'm not a fan of that. But overall, he really doesn't care. You know, he is obviously friendly to Trump, but forget that. The biggest thing I respect, I think, is that he's willing to let his fighters and his guys say whatever they want and believe whatever they want. And I think in many ways, he respects that stuff like this actually brings interest and entertainment value into the sport.
But when have you ever seen a UFC champion, George St. Pierre, or anybody else stick up for you guys? I do it. I am not chasing the Chinese check mark of Nike. I don't give a about that. I care about you guys. I care about you guys being free. I care about you guys having freedom of speech. I give a about you guys. And I'll tell you what, you guys are awesome, and I cannot wait for this man to go to war for you guys. Let's go.
And that's the thing, is that it's real, right? It's real. It's unfiltered. It's real. I think that's why a lot of people are fans of the UFC. And, you know, I'm glad. I'm sure there's many sponsors that have called that said, hey, you cut off Sean Strickland. Stop letting him say this stuff. And Dana White just says, dude, screw you. You know, this is our thing and you're not going to touch it. Okay. And you contrast that. I guess I'll combine these two stories. We'll put the two sports stories from this week together, where you take a look at what's going on in the NFL, right? And I know some people may say, well, why does Sean Strickland got to act like that? Like, I agree with the general sentiment, but why has it got to be like that? Well, what's the alternative? Because you see a lot of cases where people try to be much more softcore about it. You know, Aaron Rodgers doesn't take the jab and says what he says. Guess what? Banned from the Pat McAfee show, right? That whole thing happened. And then we have this, where CJ Stroud, who's, you know, a big time Christian and also a pretty good quarterback, wins his playoff game. They do the interview with him. And the first thing he says in this interview is, I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And NBC News, when they reposted this interview, literally cut out the part where he was thanking Jesus. Right. So there's nothing political about that. There's nothing controversial. There's no Sean Strickland style statements. He's just simply thanking God. And check out what NBC did with this. So I think first this is okay. So this is the edited version first, and then this is the full version that originally aired on live TV. Check this out.
In your first NFL season and a record-setting performance for you, what does this moment mean?
I mean, it's been amazing being in this city for as short as I've been. But
So that was the original. That was the edited thing that they put on YouTube and the internet afterwards, and the replay. Okay, and as you saw, if you notice, there's a little jump cut there. Okay, here's what he originally said.
First and foremost, I just want to give all glory and praise my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I mean, it's been amazing.
In your first.
So, yeah. That's why Sean Stricklands of the world become popular, is because when this is the image you get from sports media, it's like, finally, we need someone who just calls this stuff out and is very aggressive directly to the face of the problem, right? And that's a big thing I admire about Strickland's bravery. And obviously, I also greatly admire the fact that, you know, Stroud is willing to say that. But you take a look, it's like, what is the NFL doing? What is NBC Sports doing? They're cutting this stuff out. Then inevitably, you know, that's why the UFC becomes popular. That's why a lot of people respect it for its sort of uncensored, real culture, whereas everything else in the sports world is not like that. And yeah, I mean, so that's basically the contrast here. So in conclusion, folks, props to Sean Strickland. I love that. Okay. And, you know, sometimes in the world, you got to know which lines not to cross. Not talking about Sean Strickland. I'm talking about that reporter, right? You got a guy like that. You know he's going to rip you apart. I mean, he could physically rip you apart, but he's not going to because he is a peaceful guy. He's just a professional fighter, right? Okay. But you know he's going to verbally rip you apart. So, like, don't even go there. It's a stupid question. And I hope in the future, right, this reporter, maybe he learned his lesson. He was like, oof. And he just kind of decides, oh, well, I guess I'm a sports reporter. I guess I'm just going to lay off of this stuff. Because ultimately, you know, people always say, why are they bringing so much politics into sports? I'm sick of this stuff. Well, you know, like I said, when you have people like Travis Kelce and Colin Kaepernick and all these people who are very much willing to cave and to join in that political revolution going on in sports, kneel for Black Lives Matter, all that stuff, you know, that's part of the problem. Whereas if we have athletes like Sean Strickland, who every time some dumb reporter asks a question like that or tries to bring political or cultural issues into the world of sports, literally just tell them, shut up, you know, screw you, you suck, you're the problem, and like, get out of my face, okay? That's how we need to be dealing with this stuff, especially in the sports world. It's so true. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Did you enjoy that? You know, are you a fan of Sean Strickland? Let me know. And until next time, be sure to leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Alpha moves only. God bless. Have a very good day and peace.